Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam. Now the other strand, and that is of ibadat. Now Psalm. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam kama kutiba alal ladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. O you who profess to believe, keeping fast has been made mandatory for you, just as it was made mandatory for them who were before you. This was there in the Sharia of Moses alayhi salam also. Psalm was there in their Sharia. In the same way, now this Psalm, Siyam, keeping fast, has been made obligatory on you. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So that you have real taqwa. So that you have self-control over your animal instincts. You have full control of your id and libido. أَيَّامًا مَعْدُودَاتٍ. As I told you, I think that these two ayat, they concern the first commandment that was given by Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the people after Hijrah, that every Muslim should keep 3 fasts every month, because the Arabs were not accustomed to fasting. So they were gradually accustomed to it in a manner that every month, now you see, the month could be December, when fasting is easy. The month could be July or August or May, when the fasting is very difficult. So 3 days every month, it becomes very easy. Different weathers, different seasons, and only 3 days. But when it is full month, it's not a simple case. It's definitely something very hard. So first order was for 3 days, 13th, 14th, 15th of every lunar month. That was the commandment. That is why the words are used, ayyamam ma'dudat. They are a few days. 30 days are not few days. 30 days are quite a big number. Ayyamam ma'dudat, only a few days, 3 days. Faman kana minkum maridan. And regarding these 3 days also, there are 2 concessions. Concession number 1, whosoever may be from amongst you ill, sick, or ala safarin, or on some travel, فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. He can complete that number in other days. 3 days, he can keep the fast in that month on any other 3 dates. Number 2, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ. And on them who has the power to keep Psalm, to keep fasting, they are not ill, they are not sick, they are not on traveling, and then they don't want to keep fast. Fidyatun ta'amu miskin. There is a redemption for them, that they should feed 1 poor person. Faman tatawwa khairan fahuwa khairullah. And whosoever voluntarily does more good, well, it is good for him. If he feeds 2 or 3 or 10 or 20, well, he will get the reward on the day of judgment. If someone keeps the fast also, and also is feeding the hungry, well, he is doing it voluntarily. So there is no limit to the voluntary good deeds that a man can perform. وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. Now this is the persuasion. Don't avail of this number 2 concession. There is the concession, but don't avail of it. وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. If you fast, if you keep the fast, it is better for you. إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. If you have the real knowledge. If you know what is really good for you, what is really beneficial for you. For because fasting, you know, that is beneficial for your ruh, for your spirit, and you need it. While you know, if you have only given some charity and you have fed a few hungry people, well, that ruh will not get the food that would have given to him if you had fasted. Now comes the final commandment about the Shahr Ramadan, the month of Ramadan. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. Month of Ramadan is the month in which Quran was sent down. I had already discussed it in my preliminary lecture. Quran was sent down in 2 stages. Stage number 1, from the Kitabum Mahfuz, Lawhim Mahfuz, Kitabum Maknoon, Fi Ummil Kitab, to the first heaven, to the first sky. And that was done in toto, at once, one piece, in one night. That night is Laylatul Qadr, and in 1 month, that was Ramadan. That is inzal. Shahru Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran, inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. And second stage was that from there, the Archangel Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam brought down Quran bit by bit, piece by piece, to the heart of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And this second stage took 22 years, beginning in the year 610 of Christian era and ending in the year 632 of the Christian era when Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam died. So these are the two stages. Shahru Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Quran, Hudan lin-nas wa bayyinatin min al-huda wal-furqan. And what is this Quran? The guidance for whole of humanity. Now we can very easily compare. Here we find guidance for whole of humanity. And in the beginning of this surah was guidance for the muttaqeen, Hudan lil-muttaqeen. How do you correlate these both? That in itself it is guidance, it keeps and it holds, it has the guidance for the whole of humanity. But you know, only those will be able to avail the guidance of Quran who have real taqwa in them, who are God-fearing, who want to save them, who have the real and living moral law within them. This moral sense is there. They know what is bad, what is good. They want to be good. For them only, they can only avail from the guidance of this book. Hudan lil-nas wa bayyinatin min al-huda. And this guidance is in very clear terms, bayyinat, self-evident. Wal-furqan, and the criterion between good and bad, evil and good, between false and real. فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ فَلْيَصُمْ. Now whosoever of you witnesses this month, he has to keep fasting throughout the month. فَلْيَصُمْ ho. This pronoun ho is going towards Shahr Ramadan. The whole month of Ramadan you have to keep fasting. وَمَنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا عَلَى سَفَرٍ. Of the original two concessions, one has been retained, and that is why it has been repeated. Whosoever among you is ill or sick, أَوْ عَلَى سَفَرٍ, or he is on some travel, فَعِدَّةٌ مِنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ, he will complete the number. If the number was 30 days of Ramadan, you have to complete 30 days. If the number was that year 29 days of Ramadan, you have to complete 29 days. That number of the month of Ramadan has to be completed. The second concession is now abrogated. That is no more. But here also we find, from the wisdom of the Prophet ﷺ, that he has retained for a very extreme cases, a man who is very sick, and he cannot keep fasting. There is fear that he may die. A person he is suffering from a disease from which there is no hope of recovery, and he cannot bear this hardship of fasting. For them, the Prophet ﷺ has retained that option, that in place of one day of fasting, they can feed one poor person. But not generally, not the healthy people, not the people who can go to fast. They cannot avail of this concession now. This is gone forever. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah intends for you ease, not difficulty. Don't be cruel to yourself. If you are suffering from fever, high fever, don't keep the fast. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you the concession, He intends for you ease, not difficulty. وَلَا تُكْمِلُ الْعِدَّةِ. But anyhow, you have to complete the figure, the number now. That is obligatory. That figure, that number is to be completed. وَلَتُكَبِّرُ اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. And so that you glorify Allah. Rather, the word should be magnify Allah. Takbir means to make something bigger and bigger. Allahu Akbar, Allah is the greatest. So now the saying Allahu Akbar, this is takbir. But actually only saying is not sufficient. To make Allah supreme, to make the deen of Allah supreme, so that He is obeyed in all aspects of life. It is actually takbir of the Rabb, that He is really accepted as great, as the biggest, as the greatest, as the authority, as the sovereignty blessed with Him. So actually this is takbir. وَلَتُكَبِّرُ اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. But this takbir, after the Psalm, after the month of Ramadan, when there is Eid, Then we have special takbir. In the salah of Eid, there are additional takbir. This takbir saying Allahu Akbar is also takbir. وَلَتُكَبِّرُ اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. And this takbir is on the guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. You should magnify Him, glorify Him on the guidance that He gave you. The blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that came to you in the form of Quran. وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. And so that you can really be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this has a very deep meaning. As I told you, man is composed of two constituent parts. The animal existence, the material existence, and the spiritual existence. Both are self-sufficient and independent, joined together. The tendencies of both are different, rather opposite to each other. One has come from this earth, from the clay of the earth, from the crust of the earth. The other has come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يَسَأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. Our animal being, the source is this earth. And everything that we need for this animal being, for its feeding, for its requirements, all things come from there, from the earth. The food is coming from there. Everything which rejuvenates this body, this animal existence, coming from the earth. And now for this ruh, something that comes from Him, from whom the ruh has come. That is the only thing that can give him the strength, the real life, the vigor. This ruh needs, feeding. And the food of this ruh and this spirit is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because it is in itself manifestation of the word of kun fayakun. Every ruh of ours is a word of kun from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And its strength will be strengthened, it will be revived, it will be rejuvenated, it will be revitalized by the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by Quran. And that is what we are doing. Keeping the fast during the day, and during night we are awake with this Quran. Actually, this is the two-pronged attack for this spiritual purification during the month of Ramadan. During the day, you are with fast. You are suppressing your animal existence. You are weakening it. At least some weakening is there. Although the weather may be very good, but then starvation, refraining from food and drinking, it has that effect, definite effect. And then in the night, keep awake, stand, listen to Allah's kalam, His words. Let it be absorbed in the soils of your hearts and your minds. And that is actually, then you will know what a big blessing this Quran is. And then you will be able to give the thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala proportionately.